Eyes Radio. Thank you for tuning in. It's good to have you with us as we continue to explore further and go deeper into the mysteries of this world and beyond. Take a good look around our website for radio, TV commentary, film, news, articles, and research material on many of the things that we find interesting and of importance. Today we are joined by Alex Putney, who is behind a really interesting website called humanresonance.org. I first came across this site while looking for information about the strange objects or artifacts found at La Mana in Ecuador, some of which are actually UV fluorescent. In other words, they actually glow in what is known as black light. Some of the artifacts included interesting enough, a 13-step pyramid with an eye at the capstone. You probably know that symbol. Also a cobra, a snake or a naga serpent was found. But this is just one little small aspect of the material that Alex presents on his website. On humanresonance.org you can also find things like theories on standing waves, geometrical relationship between ancient monuments, magnetic resonance, the Earth chakra points, changing energies, 2012 levitation, Tesla, theories on the pyramids at Giza, a special water with gold and silver particles, black light. It's all connected, and these are some of the aspects that we'll be talking about. So stay with us here for an interesting discussion. Alex, welcome to Red Eyes Radio. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Heinrich, for having me. I'm really enjoying this opportunity to reach all your viewers out in the Northern Europe and all of the areas across Europe where people are tuning in. I actually just found your website myself, so it's a great discovery.
Okay, well, so Alex, I think the first thing I'd like to ask you about is a little bit in terms of your background, but also when you decided to start up your website, humanresonance.org, and how long have you been running the website now?
Well, that's an interesting question, actually. My background, I studied sculpture at Boston University, and I was introduced to this field of sacred geometry and ancient architecture and ancient artifacts through art history and studying through slide lectures in university. I went to Boston University, so they had a very good academic program and a very good traditional foundation sculpture program there. So I spent many years doing welding and wood carving, plaster casting, clay work, all kinds of things. And that really led me into a fellowship, a graduate fellowship through Brandeis University in 2001 to 2 for a year-long study in Arica, Chile, to investigate artistically and study through photographs, drawings, and sculpture the Chinchorro mummies of the Atacama Desert of northern Chile and southern Peru. So that really led me down a path of discovery, because it was there that I found ancient whistles that turned out to be tuned psychoacoustically. And so my research really took off from there, which ended up in culminating in the website and my first book about 3 years later.
Mention your book. What is it called?
Well, my first book is called Phi, and that's the mathematical symbol for the constant, not pi, which is a commonly known constant of 3.14, but it's Phi, which is a constant of 1.618. And that's a transcendental constant, so it continues indefinitely. And 1.618 is just the first 4 digits by which most people use to identify that number. So that's my first book, and that came out, in 2006. And I've since then produced 4 other books, and I'm working on my 6th book right now.
There you go. So tons of material obviously out there. And again, your website is vast and has a lot of interesting things on it. Is there, let's say someone new is coming to your kind of work and your website, is there an overarching kind of theory that you would like to mention as a way of introduction to you and your work?
Sure. Well, I think the main concept, the overriding idea that I'm presenting throughout the website has to do with the repeating images you'll find throughout that present standing waves, which are, it's a waveform that was first discovered by Nikola Tesla and identified by him in his Colorado Spring notes of, I believe it was July 3rd, 1899, he recorded the discovery of standing waves. And I actually read about that a lot later. I first read about standing waves in the context of research done by the Czech Technical University in Prague. And after I read their paper on standing waves and the fact that they were generating these waves in their resonators using 3 frequencies chosen within a Fibonacci ratio. So, for example, that would be something like 2 hertz, 3 hertz, and 5 hertz, which reflects that 1.618 ratio that I had identified earlier and we've talked about, or you've probably talked about in previous interviews. So that's really the crux of my entrance, and I didn't actually research the context of Tesla and standing waves and their initial discovery until years later. I just really enjoyed what I had discovered in the fact that we have giant pyramids in Egypt that there are 3 of, and that they have what's similar to, not exactly, but similar to a Fibonacci ratio in their sizes as well. So as I understood standing waves and I looked at the geometric images and the geometric wave maps produced by the researchers in the Czech Tech University, I could immediately, visually and geometrically in my mind, transpose those images onto the cross-section of the Great Pyramid and intuitively saw that these were the answer to the age-old question of what is the function of the pyramids. And I was able to, from that, look into the resonant frequency of the Great Pyramid itself and understand that that 765-foot wavelength determined by the base length of the Great Pyramid actually correlated to the frequency of the human heartbeat at rest, which is 1.45 hertz. And so 1.45 hertz frequency gives that 765-foot wavelength, which defines the base length of the pyramid. So that was really the crux of my connection between looking at standing wave images and interpreting them as being geometric structures that correlate to the pyramids and as well to other sacred structures around the world.
So what does that mean to you? Does that make it clearer for you, the purpose of the pyramids?
Yeah, immediately when I looked at the standing wave maps produced by the researchers, I could see that the angular inclination of the standing waves was identical to the angular inclination of the pyramid faces. And so I understood when I overlaid those images in my mind that the pyramids themselves were built to calibrate to these invisible standing wave forms. And that in the situation in the resonator that the researchers were using, the walls were creating the reflection point that was allowing standing waves to set up in that resonator. And in the case of the pyramids and the planet Earth, I realized that the opposite side of the Earth, or the antipode of the Great Pyramid in Egypt, would be the reflection point on the sphere of our planet. And so when I visualized how those sound wave formations could stand up through resonance, I understood that in the same way that the researchers were driving their oscillators using standing waves in 3 Fibonacci ratio frequencies of sound, the same thing was occurring planet-wide with the pyramids, and that the 3 pyramids at Giza were resonating the whole planet with 3 frequencies in tune with the human heartbeat.